Today we're going to be talking about the features of a will. Now, the first feature we look at is this, that the will is testamentary. When we say that something is testamentary, what it means is that that thing takes effect upon the death of the person who made it. So in the case of a will, the will is made by a testator. So once the testator dies, the will becomes effective. Now, the next feature is that a will is ambulatory. All right, ambulatory, that's from the word, the Latin word ambulare, which means to move from one point to another. And that tells you something about a will. The will is able to be changed during the lifetime of the testator. So it doesn't have any fixed effect during the lifetime of the testator. It may be revoked or altered at any time before his death. So the will is ambulatory. The third feature is that the will is voluntary. And this is very important because a will must be the free, voluntary disposition made by the testator. There must be no inordinate kind of pressure or oppression applied on the testator. No kind of coercion to make him make the will in one way or the other. Otherwise, that will would not be valid. So a will has to be voluntary. Now, in this regard, we have different kinds of influences that may affect how the testator makes his will. Now, we have what we call undue influence, and we also have persuasions. Now, undue influences are okay, or forgive me, undue influences are absolutely not okay, all right, while persuasions are fine. Now, what is undue influence? Undue influence is where there is some sort of coercive pressure that's applied on the testator, all right? And so that negates the voluntary capacity, and as a result, that disposition would not stand. For instance, if you demand at gunpoint that the testator include you in his will, now clearly that's undue influence, all right? That's been applied. If you threaten the testator, if you don't give me this gift in your will, I will make sure your last days are very miserable, all right? Now that's undue influence. Now, whereas persuasion, on the other hand, is appealing to the testator's sentiment, all right, for future destitution you would suffer, or gratitude for past services you have rendered to him. So you could look at persuasions as appealing to his sentiment. Now, is that okay? Yes, it's fine. So for instance, if you're telling the testator, oh, remember, I have been your favorite child, I've always done well in school, please make sure you give me something very nice in your will. Now, that's fine. That's only persuasion, all right, which is quite different from undue influence. Now, the last feature we have here is that the will has to identify the properties and name the beneficiaries. And this is important, all right, because if the properties being disposed under the will are not properly identified, then you see there's uncertainty. And the same rule applies if the persons who are to be the beneficiaries of such gifts are not properly named. Again, that causes uncertainty, and so there will be problems with that will. So those are the four features of a valid will. Just taking it from the top again, it is testamentary, takes effect upon the death of testator. It's ambulatory, meaning it can be changed during his lifetime. It is voluntary. It must be the free and voluntary disposition he makes. And finally, it identifies the properties and it names the beneficiaries.